Nice first class here, first division in our market. Show your under 100 pounders here. I like option number 60 or entry number 64 to go ahead and lead us off in this class. I think in terms of market hog potential, that one has just an advantage in terms of softness of center body, spread and productivity through their mid body and upper rib and dimension there. Sound and good on their feet and legs to withstand the feeding cycle there, and still it looks like he'll grow into a lot more power and product as he continues to progress based off of his frame size and score indicators there. I like entry number 25 to go ahead and be second in this class. And I thought he kind of excels the one in third just based off of his rear skeleton and the power he's got working on the back portion of his ham there. Just a bit more powerful, a bit stouter featured and heavier duty in terms of his overall makeup there. He's not perfect in terms of his front foot. He's a little bit twisty and soft, and that could prohibit him just a little bit as he gets maybe just a shade bigger. But I thought his just added bulk and general power and product and practicality in his center body was enough to give him the nod to be second here. Entry number 30 is going to go ahead and be third here. And, obviously one that's powerful and has some big upper dimension there to it. It's the rear third of the skeleton. I won't get to match as much here. In a market setting, we utilize every cut and every power there. I don't read that one's just power and spread off the rear portion of his ham and the back of her hip just to be quite as good there. Good in terms of her feet and good in terms of her just her squareness and general build and power there. Not quite as comfortable on the go. Not quite as bold out of the backside of her hip there. We round out with one here that just gets a little bit shorter, a little bit softer fleshing, a little bit more brown fat, not necessarily just quite as good in high cut ability in terms of raw lean muscle there and product working forward. I'd like to elevate him in terms of his front feet. I'd like to make him just a bit more comfortable in his movement pattern there out of his shoulder. More importantly, I'd like to carve him up with just a little bit more natural muscle there, peel just a little bit of baby fat off of him. Congratulations on a nice market class here to get us started. We get into your second heat of market hogs here, your 100 to 150 pound range here. Pretty tight top pair here. I'd be willing to hear differences amongst them. I went back and forth a few times on my own. I ultimately land with entry number 27. I thought for me, that's the gilt that provides the less amount of waste in terms of her jawline and still the most amount of product and fill and spread, evenly deposited fat content, and a lot of center body bulk and productivity there on a sound skeleton. For me, our second in this class was individual entry number 31, a gilt I remember from the breeding show there, and I think one that certainly is bold sprung and powerful when we get right on top of them and study them from the spread of their shoulder back to the heel of their loin there. There's a lot of hog and internal dimension working there. For me, it comes with just a little more jowl and waist up front, maybe not quite as much power off the back half of her hip and through her ham there. I didn't rate her just to be deposited as evenly in terms of her product as what our class winner was. Still a very good pair there. Entry number 29, a nice type of individual in his own right. Provides some softness of center, some flesh and spread there. To me, I still need to keep with at a forefront here, even on the Market Hog show. I've got to make that one bolder and wider in terms of either end of his skeleton. He wants to just close up and condense just a bit too much for me as they come to and go away. Entry number 39, I think for a Market Hog setting here, the one that rounds us out in fourth in this particular heat, it just becomes the flatter option, the skinnier, leaner option. Obviously, maybe just a shade higher cut ability due to less fat. I just don't see the overall volume of product and power that we've maybe found in a few of the others here. Very sound skeleton, very good made, just wants to lack just a little bit more than what we need to find here in a market setting. Congratulations. We're in your market class 151 to 200 pounders here, and I can comfortably land on entry number 35 to go ahead and start us off with. I think the combination and the one that provides the most balance between having enough flesh and not having too much and yet still being adequate in terms of their muscle expression up high and their potential to go ahead and progress and finish out at the right type of condition. I think a pretty logical place there to go ahead and start with. Entry number 33 is one that, albeit gives up just a shade more muscle, and that's ultimately what lands her into second there. Lean that one up, give a shot more expression. That one's flesh and center body capacity is very good there. I just thought she'd read a little bit blander if we went to harvest today. A little bit fattier, a little less muscle, a little less true genuine meat product there, but a very good hog structurally and a very good hog in terms of flesh. Entry number 37, you might look at this one and you might say, hey, that one's easily got the most product. To me, that's a hog that's maybe just pushing a bit too much bark, a bit too much unnatural fat. To me, when we get these things on the rail and we go to butcher them, we don't want all of our hard work and our profit there to melt away in the pan the first time we go to grill any of it there. To me, I'd like to lean this hog up just a little bit. I appreciate that type of skeleton that can handle that much power. If we could turn that fat into maybe just a little bit more lean product, I'd be certainly all right with moving that one up in a hurry. A lot of good pieces there, just a bit too much soft fat for me in this particular market class. Entry number 4, I like, for fourth place, I like entry number 40. And kind of the same sentiments we could echo about a couple others. Very good in terms of flesh, maybe a little bit rawer in terms of muscle. Didn't read this one to be just near as good in terms of their feet or in terms of their width or their potential there to continue to kind of bulk and expand maybe quite as easily as what some others in this particular class above them have the ability to do, but I still think a good, sound, practical market hog there just gets a little bit softer in their overall makeup. And we round out with entry number 36, a hog to me that just wants to read too narrow and too lean. And then we get right on top of it. He's the narrowest gauge from his shoulder on back to the heel of his loin and into his hip there. He's the narrowest gauge and the flattest in terms of his rib shape and his center body productivity. We step in behind him, but I'd like to see just a little more product, a little more ham right there in the seat of his pants to move up any higher. Interesting pieces, beautifully presented in terms of skin and hair. Unfortunately, in a market setting, I need to see more of him. Congratulations. Your final class of market hog individual heats in your over 200 range here, and I think a very good top pair and a good way to round things out of our market individual heats there. Entry number 38 is going to go ahead and start us off, and I think a very good totals market hog here. And as you've heard me talk throughout the duration of the market hog show today, it's not necessarily which one's the biggest, which one's the fattest, which one's got the most of everything. There's a fine line balance there when we go to butcher them, when we go to use them for their intended purposes as market hogs. You don't want to be throwing away all of your gain, all your product, and have it in white fat. And understand we can use lard and do a lot of things with it. But pork cuts sell, and lean pork cuts sell just as good there. So we're trying to find the right balance of muscle. We're trying to find the right balance of fat and productivity, and all things considered, we still got to keep structure at the forefront as well. We need these hogs, even though they're towards the tail end of their market career, still need to be able to get up and go comfortably, make it to their feed trough every day with the least amount of pain, keep that meat nice and tender, and yet still make it to the trailer or the kill plant in a comfortable sort of fashion here. So entry number 38 does it the best for me. A great balanced package there. Still sound, comfortable, square, opened up, the right amount of flesh, the right amount of fit and fill. Very good type of hog there. Entry number 65, I go second here in this particular drive, and I think a hog that offers probably just as much lean muscle mass on the top side of their skeleton as any we've had throughout the market hog show. Didn't find center body depth and rib shape and softness to maybe be just quite as good as our class winner there. Thought we gave up just a little bit in terms of product and power off the back of our hip as well. But hey, lean muscle mass and still having some rib shape and productivity at a heavy weight. I really like that about this hog here to go ahead and be second in this class. Entry number 41 is a big, bold sprung, big power sow, as we've referred to this one throughout a couple other divisions today. For me, it's that balance that we just discussed. I think maybe this one leads more towards soft muscle or soft fat tissue than it does muscle tissue. I would like to lean this one up just a little bit. I'd like to make it go with just a bit more comfort there as we round out its market weight career here. We round out with entry number 42, one that just gets a little bit wasty for me about their head and neck and their jowl. I understand with breed characteristics the coonies can get just a little more cheek and throat and jowl to them. To me, this one pushes the upper extremities of that. Doesn't balance up just as well. Reads a little bit soft in their overall makeup. Would just like to lean and firm that one up just a little bit from a market hog perspective. Nice class. Congratulations. We're here for your market hogs supreme drive and your top 3 overall. I thought 4 very good heats of market hogs today, and I won't get too long-winded. I won't get too repetitive. You've heard me say it if you've listened to the entire market hog show a few times here. We're looking for the balance in the market hog show. We want structure to be good. We want them to be comfortable and sound so they can feel their best and move their best to get the biggest and healthiest they can. But when it comes to meat characteristics, we're trying to find that perfect balance between muscle and lean mass and fat and soft tissue there. And, I think for me, when we get all these back out here, there's one that does that to a high degree. We add in structure to the mix, does everything well, incredibly well, rather. Our entry number 38 out of our heavyweight division is going to go ahead and be your champion here. We drop in for contention there, that reserve out of that division. I think that one can come into play. There was another one that I thought come out of a very good, very deep class there in the 150 to 200s. And, we could call that one maybe just a bit softer center than what we found our champion. But I thought muscle expression up high, just genuine skeletal width and power was too much to keep this one out or going next. I like entry number 35, your champion out of the 150 to 200 division, to go ahead and be your reserve market hog. For your third and final spot here in the markets, it comes down between a couple of them. We drop a few second places in. There's another one I keep coming back to that I thought was very unique, just in terms of lean muscle mass and expression on the top side of their skeleton. We got maybe just a bit critical on this one. We said it's maybe just not quite as deep and soft in terms of its rib and its flank, maybe not quite as powerful off the back of its hip. But I thought, all things considered, when we compare it against the rest of the field, we're certainly good in those areas, and we're unique in terms of that lean muscle. I like entry number 65, your reserve out of that over 200-pound class, to go ahead and be your third overall market hog. Congratulations.